As we saw earlier in Susan Spencer's report, creativity knows no boundaries. And by way of proof, consider this story from Luke Burbank.
The red's at the top. I put some blue in here, and then put some yellow in here.
Monica Valentine's art is a study in color.
Can you hold up the small beads and so I can kind of see what those look like?
Yeah.
Made up of thousands of small beads and sequins.
That's so small.
Yep.
Threaded on a pin and attached to objects.
3 beads in a sequin, yep.
The sculptures are colorful, bedazzled, three-dimensional, and eye-catching.
Are you ready to head upstairs?
And yet Valentine herself has been blind since birth.
All right, we're heading in here. You ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Valentine is one of 140 or so artists that work each day at Creative Growth, a nonprofit art collective in Oakland, California. The center provides its artists with museum-quality supplies, paint, textiles, iPads, and studio assistants who help them with their work, all at no cost to them.
A lot of people have been here for decades and decades.
Ariel Barrick is Creative Growth's volunteer coordinator.
Imagine if you were an artist and you came to an art studio every day and you had all the materials that you needed and you had a bunch of assistants who were...
Sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, I know.
It's like basically like Jeff Koons and the people here.
Exactly.
Psychologist Elias Katz and his wife Florence, an artist, started Creative Growth in their garage in 1974 before moving to this converted auto body shop.
So this was Sal's auto body?
This was Sal's auto body.
Tom DiMaria has been Creative Growth's executive director for 25 years.
What's going on in 1974? Hippies, feminism, the Black Panthers here in Oakland. It's a time of enormous social change, and that was changing for people with disabilities as well.
Among those changes, a statewide bill that ended mass institutionalization of those with disabilities, flooding California with people in need of resources and services. The Katzes wanted to create a space where those folks could come, make art, and maybe most importantly, actually make a living from their work.
You know, in 1974, that's a radical idea.
To be clear, this is not just art therapy. It's art made by artists who just so happen to have disabilities.
You see that these artists have styles that they work in.
Oh, yeah.
There's a consistency to it.
Right. It's 6 hours a day for 5 days a week for decades. I mean, there's like really incredible art practices that have been developed.
One of Creative Growth's best-known artists is Dan Miller, who is autistic and mostly nonverbal, but communicates, says Tom DiMaria, through his work.
He has word skills, and he clusters words together like poetry, and the fact that he's communicating by writing words in his painting is, you know, it's really important to know that's part of who he is as a person.
Miller's paintings are in the collections of the Museum of Modern Art and the Smithsonian American Art Museum. And he was featured at the Venice Biennale, the so-called Olympics of the art world. Also in that exhibit, the late Judith Scott, one of Creative Growth's first commercially successful artists.
That made a nice kind of little form.
Born with Down syndrome, she was also deaf and never learned to speak or sign.
Can I look?
Scott's signature style was wrapping objects in yarn and scraps of fabric to create colorful organic sculptures that now sell for tens of thousands of dollars. Proceeds from sales are now one of the major sources of Creative Growth's funding.
And that percentage is significant.
Yes, we have art sales that surpass $1 million annually.
Wow.
That money from art sales is split 50-50 between the artists and Creative Growth, just as they might be between other professional artists and their galleries.
How long did it take you to paint all of this?
It takes about 5 months.
This mural by William Scott was on display at a recent exhibit at SF MoMA, the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. It featured some of the more than 100 pieces the museum acquired to mark Creative Growth's 50th anniversary. It's the largest collection of its kind in the U.S.
You have art that's in galleries all over the country.
That's right.
How does that feel?
Feels very good.
But those around William Scott say it's not the recognition, but the process that matters for him. Scott, who is autistic, uses his art to work through some very complicated issues. As a child, he spent weeks in a burn unit after an accident. This self-portrait shows two William Scotts, one with scars from those burns, the other showing him healed.
He needs the paintings to be real. He needs the world to change, to meet him, going back in time to paint out histories that he wants to disappear, to change the neighborhoods and the housing where he grew up. His intention is to change the world.
The doctor told me that his chances of being normal was 50-50.
Scott's mother, Edna Lee Arterberry, says she had to fight to provide him with opportunities. It wasn't until he was an adult that she found creative growth.
What's it been like seeing his development as an artist now that he comes here?
This was the place. this was the place that he was supposed to be. They opened the door for him.
I cannot think of a more important art institution in the United States. They pioneered the whole model for working with artists with disabilities, which there are almost 100 of them nationwide, built on Creative Growth's model.
Katie Siegel is SF MoMA's research director and led the acquisition of the museum's collection.
You just can't overestimate the importance of creative growth historically, socially, and also just in the lives of thousands and thousands of individuals. They've given people purpose, helped them find their true calling as an artist.
And those artists are giving back to the art world, too.
We're advancing artists with disabilities into being contemporary and cultural leaders, and they've not really been in that role before. So I think their impact on the greater society can be enormous, will be powerful, will be positive, and we're at a moment right now that will start to unroll.